Hello all and welcome to episode 60 of the Green Arrow, an FPL podcast by Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to FPL Gameweek 34 and beyond. My name is Fergie and a big welcome to my co-host Adam Hopcroft. Adam, what colour was your arrow in blank Gameweek 33?
I got another green arrow. So
Mate, we're absolutely flying at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, I think the wheels are starting to come off though. Unfortunately, I think I made a mistake this week, which I'll talk. So I was quite adamant on last week's podcast that I didn't think the Kane to Vardy move was a good move, and I think there's a number of reasons I ended up doing it. I think the Friday deadline. It's almost like that panic buying right at the end. I don't know if you've ever had that.
No, never.
It was, yeah, exactly. I was quite robust on not doing the move, and then I thought I've got 2 free transfers. I'm going to end up burning one. I may as well give myself the best opportunity of getting a green arrow, and because I think a lot of people would have had Iniacho and another Leicester player. So I thought the only way to guarantee a green arrow in that fixture is to have double Leicester. But it's the reasons that I don't like the move, exactly what I stated last week. I'm going to want Kane back. I've lost 0.4 million and I can't just reverse the transfer. So I was a little bit silly, I think, to go against my own advice.
I'm not sure, because even though it didn't work, so I did the same move, but even though it didn't work, I think it was, a big upside sort of chasing move that didn't work. But all it needed was a goal, or a goal and assist or something. They scored, a couple of goals. He wasn't involved. I think he was a bit unlucky, and I think, you've still got a green arrow and you took a risk as well, which didn't work.
Okay, so what you're saying is completely valid, and I actually do think he was a little bit unlucky not to at least get something. Yeah. But it's what I want to do from this point onwards.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost me 2 transfers now to get Kane back in, and I don't think I'm going to keep. Well, I'm not sure I'm going to keep Vardy. So I could, if I would have kept, if I'd have kept Kane, I'm then on the front foot. You talk about it a lot of the time, and so yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with that. But anyway, I suppose I shouldn't be this disappointed with the green arrow. I've had enough red arrows this season. So 61 points. Mendy, Trent, Cody with a nice 0-pointer. Rudiger and Shaw at the back. So Shaw, that was good, although he lost a bonus point.
Yeah, he did.
Like at midnight
after the game.
Time. Yeah, God. Yeah, exactly. Then I had Salah, captain, Lingard, Bruno, and Jota, who again I'm not sure how he dodged points pretty well as well.
Yeah,
and then finally Iniacho. Yeah, so overall, fairly happy. I'm in the top 50k. I'm only 9 points behind you, so yeah, I know it's getting closer.
It was 40 or 50 points a few weeks ago. So yeah, you've done. You've played really well to claw it back. So well played. I was very, very smug a few weeks ago, but now I can feel you on my heels. I'm looking over my shoulder. I can feel a little breeze. I can feel your kind of breath down my neck. So yeah, take one term at a time. But
anyway, the highlight of my week, forget it wasn't actually in the Leicester game. It was probably I would put it up there with one of the most. The only way I could describe it is probably the most beautiful moment this season. And you know where I'm going with this, is the Villa West Brom game. And I think it was, we were struggling to break them down. And then, that game needed a hero, and that game got a hero.
He whipped his tracksuit off. He put his cape on.
He did.
Jumped on the pitch.
It was the moment was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I think I'm on a serious note, I'm actually pleased for him, because he's a player that I think works hard for the team. He's given quite a bit for Villa, which has never really been recognised. So I was really delighted when he scored. But obviously it had, I was straight messaging you within
my notifications went
1 second.
Absolutely wild. I was like, what's going on here? Because I saw that before I saw the goal. My phone was going absolutely crazy. But yeah, in terms of my team, Mendy, Trent, Shaw. I benched Rudiger ahead of Dallas, so I lost out on a couple of points there. Played Cody. I mean, my goodness, from the sublime to the ridiculous in a couple of weeks. Lingard, Jota, Bruno, Salah, captain, same as you, Iheanacho. So I did Kane to Vardy. I'm still insistent it's the right move. We still, like, how I kind of rate my game week is we had players like, Jota, Lingard, Vardy. They all blanked. They all blanked. They, especially Jota and Vardy, you expected them to do well. I still had a rank rise from 44k to 36k with those blanks. So I see that, as just as plain unlucky. The decision moving forward now, which is what we're going to base this podcast around, is where to go next, because we just cannot afford everyone. So we'll touch on that. On to FPL. And as we are live, please feel free to join in the chat at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics of the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions throughout. And at the end, we have got another packed lobby. Good evening, everybody. I'll try and shout out a few. We've got Aman24 says, Mara Davis, Anderson FPL Fozzie says, violin time. Only for Davis on the bench. I might crack the violin open in a minute. We'll see. Michael Lidge, Daniel Robert, FPL captain. Guy Parfit, Ian Ninge, Edward Dino. I did see that a couple of guys, it was their first time live. So welcome one and welcome all. I noticed Bert Van Pedegem is 261st overall. So very, very well played there, Bert. Fantastic stuff. For any new watchers and listeners, if you haven't subscribed just yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss our live streams every week right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. It would be much appreciated. So this evening, we're going to work out which premiums we can go without over the coming game weeks. We'll navigate our way through game weeks 34, 35 and 36 with some big decisions needed this week. With these fixtures in mind, we will reveal our game week 34 teams and plans, look at the best captaincy options for this game week, give the competition results from game week 33 and look to give away another prize this week. We'll finally take a look at the top of the Green Arrow podcast mini league. So let's just remind ourselves of Ben Crellin's predictions, which includes 8 teams having a double game week in game week 35 in Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Everton, Southampton, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester and Man United, of which Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester and Man United will then blank in game week 36. But the big dilemma facing lots of FPL managers this week is which of the current 4 big guns and the cash cows, where all our cash is, to lose this week. And this could be a running theme depending on whether you want to keep rotating them with their fixtures and captaincy potential, assuming you have a reasonably rounded team. We simply can't have them all. So Adam, we've got up on screen Bruno, Kane, Vardy and Salah. Firstly, going to ask you, are there any of these 4 players that you will be 100% sticking with for the remainder of the season?
I don't think you can ever say 100%, but I would say I think out of those 4, the 2 that I like the most are Kane and Salah. Yeah, I'm tempted to say Bruno as well. I just still think he'll come good. I think he's been a little bit unlucky over the last, the last couple of game weeks. So yeah, I'm tempted to say. I think if I had my ideal team and I was wildcarding that, I would go with Kane, Salah, and Bruno still. And I think at the moment, the one player that I've got that I can't really sell this week that I would get rid of is Son. So I don't think I want. Well, I wouldn't sell him this week, but because you can't sell him against Sheffield United, but he'd be the one that I'd probably like to get rid of because I don't really want 21 million invested in Spurs.
Yeah.
I think I'd quite like to have Salah, Kane, Bruno as my heavy hitters because I just think Vardy is looking good. I think he looked okay, but he doesn't look as good as Iheanacho, who is 4 million or 5 million cheaper. I shouted a certain player last week who is absolutely killing it at the moment. Is Chris Wood. He's doing.
You did shout him. I got to be fair.
And I think thinking about it, he's probably one I should have gone for, because he would have fit nicely, within that sort of budget striker range. I think he's capable of matching Vardy. His stats, I mean, what's quite interesting, if you look at the strikers over the last 6 game weeks, the 4 standouts are Vardy, Iheanacho, Kane, and Wood. So I think it makes sense to go for, I think, Vardy or Kane. I think you should go for. I'm not keen on going for both, because go on.
Oh no, you go. Sorry, I thought you finished. Sorry.
The reason I'm not keen for both is that I think, in terms of team structure, I don't think I want 2 premium forwards. I think that, because I don't think it will give me the flexibility, and it will lead to transfers down the line. The way that I want to, the way that I think someone's just put in the chat, Vardy's not captain material. Absolutely spot on. I don't think he is. Yeah. I think if anything, if you're confident on the Leicester attack, captain Iheanacho, he looks brilliant at the moment, and so I would, for me, Vardy, I think. Whilst I know people talk about that Southampton high line, he got his hat-trick there in the 9-0, it is a risk selling him with Newcastle coming up next. And he's the sort of player that could punish me. But I think he will probably reluctantly be going for me this week. And I'm not too worried. I've been thinking about the doubles. Number one, I think there's a real point we should make is, we keep talking about double game week 35. That's not confirmed yet.
No, that's right.
For all of those teams anyway. There are other possibilities, which, if FPL do not move the deadline, it will be quite interesting as to what could happen. So we're only guessing they're going to do that.
That's fair.
So I think in my opinion, there's been too many assumptions made, and I think anybody that doubles in, everyone's talking about the double game week. But every double game week player that you have, unless it is Villa, Palace, Everton, or is it Southampton? I don't really like any of those teams for the running anyway. Then it's a -4 out the other side, isn't it? So for game week 36. So yeah, I think I've digressed a little bit there. I think definitely Kane and Salah, possibly Bruno. Vardy's expendable in my opinion.
So I think looking at week by week, because my kind of loose plan at the moment is to almost look at rotating them almost, because there's only 5 game weeks left. I don't actually even mind taking a hit every week if I feel that my team will be the best it can be in the game week, if that makes sense. So just for example, this week, so I took out Kane last week. Again, I stand by it. I think it was a good move. The outcome wasn't right, but I still think it was a good move. In game week 34, for example, Kane is the best captaincy option. You would guess by a mile, right? Liverpool play United, so Salah and Bruno kind of, even though they may return, Kane against Sheffield United, I can't see anything there but a hole, personally. And Leicester are away to Southampton, which is a decent fixture, but you just can't look past Kane. So I think there that Kane is a good option. I also like Kane. Away to Leeds is going to be a harder fixture, I think, but still fancy him to do something there. And they've got Wolves and Villa before playing away to Leicester. So I think that Kane's next 4 is pretty good, albeit if there is a double, obviously in 35, we would probably look to put the armband on a team that doubles there, and the blank in 36 could cause an issue for teams there. So I think looking at it week by week, how I'm thinking about it is I want Kane this game week, and I'm looking at Vardy. So even though Vardy has got a good fixture this week, he could also have a double in 35, which would include home to Newcastle, away to Man United, who actually have both been, new. You can say that Newcastle have definitely improved, and United is not an easy game. He's not on form, but he's playing for a team in form. Leicester will then likely blank in 36 and has tough fixtures after 36. So I think Vardy for the next two game weeks is decent, but I really like the point that he's not captaincy material. I think that is a good point.
Just on Vardy, while we're talking about him, do you think it's possible that he sits out maybe the Man United or Newcastle game with the cup final coming up? Because that's huge for Leicester.
Yeah, I think. You know what? I think that's a good point as well. I think the only reason why he might not is if they're still like chasing down a top 4 spot. But then, well, do you know what? That's a really good shout. So it'd be the United match, wouldn't it? Yeah, it'd be the United match that he may miss, which isn't the worst one to kind of miss anyway. But that is a good, that's a good factor there as well. In terms of Bruno, he's got a difficult fixture in 35 at home to Liverpool. Mind you say that a difficult fixture. Liverpool haven't been defending well. They also have a double in 35. Sorry, potentially have a double in 35, which is Villa and Leicester. Bruno hasn't been on form, but I think one of the differences between Bruno and Vardy is the ownership as well. Bruno's ownership is absolutely massive. And Liverpool's defence haven't been good. They're likely blank in game week 36, but he also has good fixtures after 36. They finish off really nicely, which is why I think I'm hearing for Bruno over Vardy at the moment.
I think on Bruno, do you think he'll be the highest, or I suppose the most popular captain in game week 35 as things stand? If let's assume that goes ahead, that double game week, do you think he'll be the most popular captain?
I think he will. I'm not sure.
I'm not saying. I'm not
sure he's the best. I'm not sure he'd be the best captain. But
no, I'm not saying that.
But from an effective ownership view, you can imagine his being 140, 150% plus, and whether we like it or not, that is a factor. Depending on how you play the game, to me, it's a factor. Because I'm in a reasonably good spot on my 35k. I want to chase down a top 10k finish by not captaining him, and if he does get a return each one, I could double my rank, and that dream is over. I don't see the point in that personally, but I know that's not for everyone. But yeah, no, I think that's right. But his fixtures after 36 are nice as well, Bruno's, which is really important as well. Salah then has got a difficult fixture in 35, but has superb fixtures for the remainder of the season, and he is in form. I think the form part is important as well. So for me, kind of going through all that there, I think I'm going to let Vardy go personally. I think I need to take a hit this week, which I haven't worked out where I'll get the money from. It'll likely be something like Cody to someone. I'm going to have to work out who. Are you doing the same, Adam? Or you've got a couple of frees, haven't you?
Yeah, I got 2 frees. I don't know. I think part of me, I still think for me, based on what I said, it was a mistake to go with Vardy. And I think your rationale was different, and I think it was fine to go with. But I should have stuck to my guns, and that's why I've done fairly well over the last 6-7 game weeks. And I think by reversing it, I'm sort of, I suppose, in a way, correcting my decision. Like I said, I would consider ditching Son. I just can't do it this week against Sheffield United.
No, definitely not.
Where do you stand on Son for the, I suppose, next week onwards? Because he's got Leeds next week, so he's not Dublin, and he's a lot of money. I just think he's an I don't think he's a lot of money. He's an awkward price if you've got Brute. Because what I found is when I had Trent, Son, Bruno, Salah, and Kane, I had no room for manoeuvre. And I think if I had to sacrifice one, it would be Son. And if you look at so I always look at on the hub, and I think I'd get other people to do it is go on the Hub website, look in the Opta stats, and look at the expected points. Son's nowhere near to be seen.
No, that's right.
Whereas all the other players we're talking about, Vardy, Kane, Bruno, Salah, Bruno's actually been very unlucky. I think he's got the biggest discrepancy in expected points versus actual points. So, but Son is just nowhere. So, and I appreciate it was under a different manager, and I appreciate he's got the capability to get a double-digit haul pretty much against anyone. But I think he's probably the one that I will downgrade. Maybe next week's Leeds have been quite good defensively.
No, I agree. I think I gave Son some very high praise earlier on in this season, compared him to Salah. I don't know what has changed. Observationally, he was stifled under Mourinho. Mason has come in, but he seems to be just tied on that left-hand side. He doesn't seem to be involved in the attacks. He's not on the shoulder of the last defender and stuff. So I think Son is dispensable after this week. He could be a cash cow moving forward. In terms of, I want Rafinha back in a couple of weeks when he's fit, just as an example, and that will free up like a lot of money then, to be able to play around then. Either you can either do that in 35 when Spurs play Leeds, if Rafinha is back and fit, wait until the one after. Mind you, Spurs at home to Wolves. I think it'd be a tough sell. I think you could sell him away to Leeds. I wouldn't want to sell Son home to Wolves personally. I think you're asking for trouble there. But they're my thoughts on Son. I do agree.
I think sort of the jukebox has put in the chat about Son to Bowen. Yeah, he's on my list of potentials. I think he's looked good, particularly if Antonio is out for the rest of the season or the majority of the season. I think that increases Bowen's potential. West Ham have got something to play for. I think for me, looking at it now, the thing that I'm fairly clear on is that I'm not going to worry too much about the double game week teams.
Yes.
Because if I look at them, Villa are just going to, I think they're giving their all, but they're looking like conceding every game, and they're not creating loads. I don't want to invest in Palace. I just don't want to I don't really want to go there. Everton aren't really that exciting. I think there's only really Luca Dean I would invest in, but 6 million's a lot. Southampton I'm not particularly keen on. Arsenal are in the Europa League, and actually got Chelsea, which I think is pretty tough. Chelsea aren't going to be interested because so they've got the Champions League, but they've also got City and Arsenal.
Yeah, it's a tough old run, yeah.
Leicester have got the FA Cup final, and we've talked about United. The Villa game is sandwiched. The Europa League game is sandwiched between Liverpool and Villa, so it's possible Bruno gets a rest versus Villa or some of the players. So if I just look at all of those teams, I think my plan is to probably target the teams that we think are going to play in 36 and just not worry about the double, because from those teams there, either A, the team's crap, B, they got crap fixtures, or C, players won't play both matches. So I think in all cases, I think it could be quite an underwhelming double game week.
Just what is in my mind. So for those who have got chips left, so a lot of people have been hanging around with their chips in terms of wildcard, especially those with a bench boost, because they haven't really had an opportunity to use it for a long time, since game week 26, I think, was the last decent opportunity. Do you think that using a wildcard and bench boost ahead of these is worth it, or do you? I've been quite, blunt. I've been in a couple of DMs, chats, people asking me, and I've said I would have used your bench boost ages ago, or I would just use it now whenever you've got a half decent bench. I honestly think that using a wild card to bench boost it, at this time of the season, for me, is madness, because you're setting yourself up basically for 1 week or maybe two. It's very, very unlikely that a lot of the players in the top teams, they're also in the cups, so they're not going to play both games. Have you got any thoughts or tips on how they could actually optimize them at all?
Yeah, what I would do, it just depends if we get this confirmed. Let's say we have the double game week confirmed prior to the deadline, with a bit of notice. I'd be tempted to wildcard this week.
Yeah.
and with a view of balancing the team between 35 and 36, and then bench boosting in 35. That's
Okay.
how I would. That's how I would do it personally,
Yeah.
because I think. I think even just having 15 players, and I think even the fact they have 2 matches increases the chances of them playing maybe a match and a half, even if they don't play 2.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I would go for. That's what I would do. I don't think there's much upside waiting to, because if you wildcard in 35, you can't bench boost in 35, can you? So I think that's what I would probably go for.
What about free hit?
Well, I'll let you give your suggestion on that, because I think I don't want to take it away from you, but I think you had a really good idea before we come on. So let's go back to you on that one.
Well, in terms of using it in terms of these game weeks, you could try and target 35 to get a lot of upside, but I do think a lot of players will only play once, so I just don't think you're going to get it. And I honestly think it could be one of those game weeks where you use a free hit and your original team will have scored more than your free hit team. I do think that about 35. I think 36 is probably the best time in terms of, there's a lot of, if Chelsea, Arsenal, United and Leicester do blank, if you think, a lot of people have got Mendy, maybe a defender like, Rudiger, Aspilicueta, wherever else, Bruno, maybe Greenwood, maybe Shaw, Leicester players, Vardy, Iheanacho, maybe Castagna, wherever. I do think a free hit in 36 is probably the best option. But the thought I had earlier, so we had a question of Como Callahan. Apologies, Colo, I can't pronounce your name. It's something like Colombo Callahan, and he asked a question around where's the opportunity to potentially make up points. And by make up points, it's not just talking about optimizing every game week, because everyone tries to do that every week. Is where's an opportunity to do something a bit different that could potentially give you a big boost over your rivals. And I was looking earlier, and I think that using a free hit this week, this coming week in game week 34, and hear me out, because if Liverpool and United play each other, you would probably guess it would end up, I don't know, a 0-0 or a 1-0 or a 1-1. All the big games involving United have just been damp squibs all season. United, you guess, would be happy with a 0-0, just to kind of retain their second place and keep Liverpool off their backs. And on top of that, then Chelsea and Man City are going to. It's going to be rotation central, right? So I'm looking at the teams. There's some very low ownership players who will very likely play some really good games this weekend. So I'll start with Spurs. Obviously, Kane and Son. I think Bale has the potential this weekend to have a really good game potentially.
Yeah,
home to Sheffield United, right? He's low. In terms of City, you would guess that Jesus, maybe Aguero, maybe Sterling, maybe Laporte, for example, could all be really good free hit options this week. Chelsea is the one, again, I'm probably more interested in. So they're home to Fulham, and you would guess that Alonso is going to play, who a lot of people have let go already now for, Rudiger, whatever else. I would be like Rudiger, I think, has played the last 4 or 5. He's got to have a rest. You would guess at some point. So Alonso, I think, could be a really good shout. Reece James, I don't believe, has started the last 2, so he could be a good shout. Havertz up front could be a really good shout, because again, you would guess they would maybe rest Mount, who started the last few, maybe Werner as well. So just with those kinds of names, if you think of all those players have got really nice fixtures and their ownership is very, very, very low, and I just think it's an opportunity to potentially score very heavily in what I think this weekend will be a relatively low-scoring week.
I 100% agree with you, because I think the big factor is the Liverpool-Man United game, or the Man United-Liverpool game, because and actually, I think Rudiger could get rested as well. So when I look at my team, I think I've got 5 starters currently in that
Yeah,
match.
same.
And I probably will start them all at the moment because you just don't know who's gonna, Um,
And this is the
so
thing: if Bruno scores, he'll wipe out the clean sheet from Trent, and vice
yeah,
versa with Shaw
so
and whatever
you're
else.
gonna. I think I'll do it and hedge my bets almost by starting Shaw because I think the good thing with Shaw and Trent is that they can get attacking returns as well.
Yeah.
Or it could be 0-0, and then at least you've got two defenders. It's quite a hard one to call, I think. So I think because of that, you're absolutely right, and because of Europe, there's loads of low ownership players about. You said it before we come on air, and I think it's an absolutely brilliant shout because in 35, if you look at it, other than maybe going for a crap team or a team that's got nothing to play for that plays twice,
Exactly.
most people are going to have the same United, Chelsea, Leicester players in the double. So people are already set up for that. So I think it's a really, really good shout.
So I think I don't want to be mistaken here, right? I think the 36 is probably the best time to use it. But I think if you are really, really struggling to find, how do I potentially, where's the opportunity to claw back 30 or 40 points very, very quickly? I think that there is an opportunity. It may not happen, right? It may go, it may go ass backwards and not work. But it's very hard to make up ground because a lot of players now, most FPL managers know what they're doing, and you can see it in the template. So instead of going against Kane this weekend, think I'll go different. I won't go Kane, which I think is madness because your rank variance. Even if your captain bangs, even if your rogue captain, whoever it could be, right? Could be Vardy, could be Bruno. Even if they score a couple of goals, and Kane doesn't, okay, you'll get like a bit of a lift. If Kane bangs and you haven't got him at all, your rank will sink like an absolute stone. So I think it's one of those things we always say about choosing your battles, right? And this week for me, it's not a week to kind of do it. But yeah, it was only a thought. But while we're talking about Gameweek 35 as well, there's been a lot of chat around some players. There's some of Everton players. I think a couple of the guys there mentioned maybe Holgate, maybe Coleman and stuff. So we're going to just bring up a slide looking at the double Gameweek 35 teams here and what this shows. So I've just filtered it out on the 4 teams that have got a potential double in 35, but also play in 36. And those teams are Villa, Palace, Southampton, and Everton. So all this is, it's points per appearance for the last 6 games. Olsen, interestingly, averaged 6.5 points per game. When he started, obviously, we know that Pickford is back now, but that could, it kind of signifies that Everton's defence is potentially improving. So, Olsen's up there. Ings is averaging 6.33 points per game since he's been back. Batshuayi we can probably ignore because that was probably a bit of a one-off. Coleman, Rodriguez, Sigurdsson, so the Everton players in there. And again, if we just touch back quickly on Everton's fixtures, they've got West Ham, Villa, but also after that, and to me this is really important, you're not just getting them in for the double, right? They're home to Sheffield United in 36 and home to Wolves in 37 as well. So I actually think Everton could be quite a good shout. I know we had some guys, talking about Sigurdsson maybe, but we've got Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin maybe, the defenders as well, Holgate, Coleman, maybe Pickford in goals. I do think those Everton players are potentially a good shout there. In terms of Southampton, so they play Liverpool first. Liverpool just tend to concede, right? Ings against his old club. I wouldn't be surprised if he scored at Anfield. After that, they have 3 home games on the bounce.
Yeah. They
have Palace, Fulham, and Leeds, which are 3 really nice offensive fixtures there. So I actually think looking at the doubles in isolation is not I think looking at the bigger sort of picture there, I think Ings a really good shout actually for these next few games, and Ward-Prowse as well from Southampton could be he takes it so well, even though his penalty appeal when Ings is there, obviously goes. Further down, you've got Watkins and Trezeguet. Zaha is one on everyone's lips. Looking at the fixtures, their double is pretty, decent in 35 in terms of they got Sheffield United and Southampton. After that, they have got Villa, Arsenal, and Liverpool. What are your thoughts on Zaha? Because there's been a lot of talk on Zaha. Does he interest you in the slightest, or are you just absolutely not?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think he looked okay last night. Took his goal well. For me, and he has had seasons where he's finished strongly as well, and he could be playing for a move. Well, the inevitable move, which just never seems to happen. So, if I'm being honest, I'm not entirely sure at the moment. I think there's other. I'm just looking at this list, and we said about underwhelmed.
It's more. It's more.
Do you know what? I think it's insulting to Keenan Davis that he's not even in this list. I'm going to just read you some stats. So there's a player that we're missing from the list that per 90 over the last 5 game weeks has had 5 shots in the box. He's got an XG of 0.72 per 90. An XA of 0.64 per 90, creating a big chance and having a big chance per 90. Keenan Davis, how is he not on that list? How have you not got him on that list? It's you must have it's. I'm just looking at that list. It is. I did a podcast last night with James at Planet FPL and the Everton correspondent Sean, and I think we were both speaking about our teams. And I was quite interested speaking to Sean about Everton because we're looking at their fixtures. And Coleman was somebody I was interested in, purely because of his price. And I think he's got a few attacking returns. And he just don't go there. There's a
really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, good chance of rotation. He says, if you're going to go for defence, Luca Dean is the only option.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or it's like anybody could get rotated and he expects it to happen. And actually, when I went back and looked at it, I think even Coleman hasn't even played he's been rotated within the last 4 or 5 games. They've played Godfrey at fullback.
Yeah.
So he said Luca Dean's the only one to go for, but he's 6.1 million, and I don't really want to lose Trent or Shaw. Pickford is a possibility. I think if you want a goalkeeper, I think he could be a useful one to look at for Everton. I think he's actually playing quite well at the moment.
Yeah.
But I just think they're just all underwhelming options. Watkins has returned. I'm just looking at that list. Watkins has returned in the last 4, but Villa. To be fair, they battled well against West Brom and created stuff, but without Grealish, you're just not the same team. This is why I'm a big advocate of just forgetting the double game week.
Yeah, no.
I'm just looking at those players, and you mentioned Ings. He has, of course, he's capable, but he's expensive for what he is this season. So I'm in the camp at the moment of boycott every single person on that list. Sigurdsson, I think Sigurdsson was one that I spoke about last night on the Clash of the Correspondents pod, and that was, I think he's probably the punt to have out of all the players in there. But I just don't think Everton score enough goals. So I probably wouldn't go for anybody in that list at the moment.
He does get a random sort of benching as well, don't he?
He does,
at times. I don't know if it's because of his age, or mixing it up. He does get an odd benching. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I've put this list up specifically, just for those who are interested. In looking at the doubles in 35 for teams who also play in 36. Nothing there inspires me either, right? So I had to go down, I think, 20 or 30 places in the list to even get to Olsen, who's 6.5, and Olsen's not even playing. I would say there are a couple of players more eye-testy and more, from previous experience. I was disappointed that Redmond, I think Redmond was benched in the FA Cup semi, because Nathan Redmond generally does very, very well at the end of the season. I think he's a really nice player, and they've got nice fixtures, as I say, they've got that little cluster. They've got the double, which includes home to Palace. They then got Fulham and Leeds after that. So I think Redmond or Ings could be a decent option in there. Sigurdsson, I agree with. Luca Dean, he's one of those. He flatters to deceive in his offensive stats. I'm sure I saw a stat in the last week to say he'd only had one assist all season or one shot all season or something like that. And I was really surprised.
He's definitely had more than one assist. I thought he was on like seven or eight. I think
since a game week or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Right.
No, go on.
I think the one point I would say, and this is always a good sort of test, should you get somebody for a double game week, is would you buy them if they didn't have a double game week?
That's a good shout.
I always think that's a good way to start thinking about it, because then if they are rested or come off early, you're still happy to have them. I'm so underwhelmed looking at that list that. Yeah, I'd be surprised if I think Zaha possibly. Zaha is I can sort of get Zaha because I think he's proved he's capable this season. He's actually got a couple of good fixtures in there, and even against Liverpool the last day of the season, he's the sort of player that I think he can do it against the big teams because of the pace on the counter, and actually might against Liverpool I wouldn't be surprised if he did score. So yeah, I think Zaha is possibly the one. But I just think there are better options looking at the single game weeks. And actually, having looked at it, I'd be quite comfortable not having maybe having 6 or 7 doublers in not even that, maybe 5 or 6 doublers in 35, and a lot because the ones that have got single fixtures have got I think I've got better fixtures, to be honest. So. On the whole, so I think that's where I'm at anyway.
I think I'm with you, but I do always like to have some kind of differential player somewhere in my team, somewhere in the front 7, say, just someone that if he chips in with something, it kind of sets me apart from the rest. So I am interested in Sigurdsson. I'm interested in Ings. Redmond would be one of my outside punts based on previous experiences. He always looks dangerous in the season, same as Van Aanholt. But I certainly I wouldn't be going for Van Aanholt just the way that the Palace have been. Let's catch up on the chat. Mitesh asks, "What about a Palace defender if you're stretched for funds like Ward?"
That that's so okay. That is a really, really good shout, and I actually added Ward to my watch list earlier, but purely because of the thinking he would be fine to go on the bench as well, because he's 4.3 off the top of my head, isn't he? Yeah. So I think that's slightly different if you're having sort of budget players to that you'd be happy to bench, and it frees up funds elsewhere. So I actually think Ward's a good chance. Ward's quite good on bonus as well. So that I think fair play to Mitesh. That's a really, really good shout. I think you're better off going for him than Van Aanholt personally.
He's the player who I could move my Cody to free up the funds now to do Vardy to Kane as an example, because like I say, you'll have the double in 35. He needs a clean sheet, or even the 4 points you take, wouldn't you really? So it would be all right. Gavinho 99, is this the chart without Keenan Davis? Is it Fergie? As I imagine he's top of everything, mate. I have to scroll all the way down. The one jukebox says next week looking at DCL for Vardy. DCL will have 3 fixtures potentially compared to 1 for Vardy, as he thinks he'll only play 1 in the double due to the FA Cup. I think we mentioned that earlier. That's not a bad shout.
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin's an I just think I find with Calvert-Lewin that he's very, very streaky. Not streaky, but he had a really good first half to the season. Like he did, I think he had sort of a good middle to the season prior to COVID last year. And then when he came back after the break last year, he couldn't score. And it seems to be the same now. He's just not looked the same. And the problem with him is his price. He's more expensive and of the likes of Iheanacho, Chris Wood. Yeah. So, and Everton just don't score loads of goals, and they don't look like scoring loads of goals. So, for that reason, I probably won't go there.
Okay, people are still raving about Keenan Davis. Davis for May, says Luke Trineman. Daniel Roberts says Davis is just unbelievable. What a player. And Nuki Tem Blomandel says Lewandowski. Like that, mate, like that. And Daniel says Adam cheated on Fergie with Planet FPL James. Adam, you absolute cheat.
Oh, you've been on other pods. I think you've even been on a pod with James, haven't you?
I will play. No, I know.
No, it's my it's my chance to speak about Villa on that pod. So I'm the Villa correspondent. So I only really speak about Villa on that. So that's why I've not mentioned them too much tonight.
I was going to say I think you've done all right over the season speaking about Villa on here with Grealish and Ollie Watkins, and now even Keenan Davis, isn't it? FPL Fozzie says doubles is pure FOMO. I think you probably agree with that, Adam, and I do as well. In all honesty, it just I've said it all season. I just for someone who we talk so much about the chips and the doubles and stuff. I've had very, very few really positive experiences in the doubles and in the chips, and it's because I think the game has changed now, and teams have got massive squads and stuff. And I just I don't think that they just are what they were. Aman24 asked what's going on with Grealish. Mark from Black Box said right at the start when he got injured he was out for the season. What is actually wrong with him? Have you got an update on Grealish for us, Adam?
I've got loads of theories. I'll be honest, I don't know. I think he is genuinely injured. I've heard rumours and that he's off to Man City, which I don't particularly like, but I've chose not to believe. But I do think he's genuinely injured because I think he's got a really good relationship with Dean Smith. The problem with Dean Smith is he's never clear on injuries. We had exactly the same situation when Villa were in the Championship. Grealish was out for a long period of time, and every single week he'll be back soon. And I really don't know. I think because it's shin splints, and they haven't really gone into the detail of the injury as well. They don't want to risk. He's already had one setback, so I think if most people in the league and obviously all England fans want him back ASAP. So yeah, I don't know any more than anyone else. Listen to Dean Smith.
Oh, yeah, probably useful.
And ignore what he says. Yeah.
I noticed that Grealish's chances of getting the England squad increased dramatically yesterday, but only for the fact that they've increased the size of the squad from 23 to 26. But I think seriously now, if he is fit, I do think that increases his chances because he hasn't played. Is the problem? But
well, yeah, I think it's fitness. I think a few people have put has he not fallen out of the manager? Not to my knowledge. Now I think he genuinely is injured.
Guy Parfait, who was on last week's pod with us, says, "I think we should see other pods." I like that guy. Very good indeed. Edwardinho asks, "Any chance that Wood will repeat his heroics?" What do you think? Well, his stats have been incredible. You said.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I think I don't think he's not going to get a hat trick every week. But the good thing about Chris Wood is that I think other than Man City, who Burnley are terrible against, I think he can score against anyone. Yeah. I think particularly from set pieces, Burnley are quite dangerous. I think they've had a bit more attacking threat, and I think they can play without any pressure. I mean, they had a good end to last season as well. So I think I definitely think he's a good option at the moment because I like all of their fixtures that they've got left. I think even the Liverpool one, you wouldn't be, Liverpool are quite vulnerable aerially at the moment. So yeah, I think he's a really, really good option. He's someone I am considering whether it's this week or next week, but he's definitely on my radar.
Denver CBT 786 evening, guys. Wood Torres from City. Be a good punt for the week. Absolutely. Yeah, if it's just a 1 week punt. You can't. I mean, you can't go wrong with with any of those players we kind of mentioned earlier. Torres is definitely another one. Surely he'll play on the weekend. They're gonna very likely rest. Mahrez, Foden, Bernardo, probably Gundogan. De Bruyne maybe, but yeah, going to rest everyone, aren't they? And Moruggerson just on about Chelsea. Werner missed so many big chances. Well, he does that every game, doesn't he? And he missed another howler the other night in the Champions League. Okay, Adam, let's move on to your team. Firstly, then, for game week 34. So you mentioned earlier about Vardy. What are your plans for game week 34?
I'll be honest, I have absolutely no idea at the moment. And I'm a bit worried about game week 34 because I don't think that, like you said, I don't think the fixtures fall nicely. So I think my defence is in a little bit of trouble. So I'm hoping Mendy will play, and I think he will because I think it would disrupt his momentum between the games. So I'm hoping Mendy will play. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
I will start Trent and Shaw because I don't know what way that game's going to go. It could be 0-0. But even if both teams score, they're both creating a lot of chances. So I'm happy to play both of them. I'll start Rudiger, but I think he'll be benched. And then in midfield, and then it's tough. I'm generally happy with my midfield, but I'm going to need to get Kane in, I think. And there's a couple of routes. I think in reality, I have to lose one of three players, which is Vardy, Salah, or Fernandes. I'm not losing Salah. I think he was unlucky against Newcastle not to get more. He's dominating the stats, going for the golden boot.
100%.
Funnily enough, I think Mane's looking quite good as well at the most stats-wise in particular. So I think Liverpool attack I quite like at the moment. So I think I'm probably going to lose Vardy because I think I'm more likely to want Bruno long term than I will Vardy. And I think Vardy's just the next two games. And then what it means, if I take Bruno out, I might want him back. I'm using extra transfers, losing team value. So I think Vardy to Kane. Now I need 0.4 to afford that move. One of the options is I could downgrade Vidra.
Don't even say it. Don't even say it. Don't even say it.
In fact, I don't know if there's any cheap forwards going around, that are capable of coming off the bench and scoring.
There are players who are one of the cheapest players in the game, who's actually playing like a 10 million striker at the moment. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, I think yeah. So I did look at it. It is a possibility to do that to do that move. I think the other one is I'm happy to get rid of Cody. So I could do. I just thought Wolves were so bad against Burnley that and I think Cody's fairly expensive for what he offers. So I could go Cody to a 4.4,
like a Ward,
4.5.
A Ward from Palace we mentioned earlier. Yeah,
and I just put him last on the bench. So that could be an option. Like I said, I don't really. The other thing I could do is take a -4 and get rid of Son, but then I just don't think that this is the week to do it.
That's not the week. It's the week to bring in Keenan Davis, Adam. It is the week.
Yeah.
I can't believe after all this you'll be bringing him in.
A few people have mentioned, I think, with Kane's injury, because he didn't move great against City, and that was one of the reasons I made the move as well. Is that we didn't have knowledge whether Kane would play, and there were pictures of him in training, but he wasn't training with the team, and I thought he was getting rushed back, and he might struggle or break down. And that was one of the reasons that I did go ahead with the move, because we didn't have full disclosure of whether he's playing. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people put in the chat about Vardy could do quite well. I mean, the other option I could do is I could do Kane to Vardy, Vidra to Wood, and Jota to like a 5 million midfielder, some maximum or somebody like that. So I could do that move. and it gets me Chris Wood in, because I think the only problem with Jota is I think he still will be in and out the team. Although he has looked like scoring when he's played, so I think I'll probably stay loyal to him. So I know I'm talking just sort of rambling and but I don't.
Oh,
The only
it's
thing
good, mate.
the only thing I'm certain of is as long as Kane is trained and there's positive feedback about him, I will bring him back. And if it means that I don't like losing Vardy, but I think Iniacho is above Vardy at the moment. So I think he's more of a threat than Vardy is. And I wouldn't captain Vardy. Whereas,
Yeah.
and then, like I said, I think Son's got Sheffield United, hasn't he? So I think that's what I'm thinking. I think somebody's put a punch in, would Kane get rested? Possibly, but I think we'll get that sort of knowledge or an idea from the press conference. He might mention that Kane's looked jaded in training, or we've got to be careful with Kane. And if we get that sort of message, I might change my approach.
But they've only got one game a week, I think, and it's Sheffield United as well. He played 90 against Man City. What are they resting him for? They got Leeds the week after, which is, a full week after. I can't see, what they're gonna actually rest him for. Personally, I think he plays 90, and I think he scores a couple of goals. I think anything other than that, personally, I'm not talking about kind of you here. I just mean the situation in general. I just mean anything else is overthinking personally. If anyone doesn't, he's going to be top of all, odds to score and odds to score more than one, odds to return. He's the man this week for me. And
I just think it depends on the press conference. I think if Ryan Mason comes out and said that, we just got to wrap him up in cotton wool, or we might give, we might. I don't think that will happen, but I'm conscious that I might say I'm definitely getting Kane in, and then it doesn't happen. So
that's fair enough.
I do need to throw that little caveat out there. So yeah, I think Kane will come in for Vardy, and someone just put about bringing in Rafinha. I do like that option for Jota, but I don't know if I'm ready to lose Jota yet, because I think he's looked dangerous enough. His stats are really good. The only frustration with him is minutes. And he's not. I don't really think he's a 90-minute player.
But I don't think he needs it. What was his comeback game? He came on and scored 2 off the bench, didn't he?
He doesn't need it, but Rafinha is how much cheaper? 1.5 million cheaper, roughly. So you can't have everyone, can you? So I think that is a valid move to go Jota to.
I personally think that Jota's a better option than Son after this week. Both in terms of value and matches.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I think Son to Rafinha to go alongside Jota for me. Look at Jota's last 4 fixtures. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, and Palace. Why would you sell Jota?
You're trying to push me into that Davis move, aren't you? I know it.
Not at all. Not at all, mate. It's completely your decision.
Davis or Ward? What has this come to? That's my
what
move.
A podcast.
Davis or Ward?
We should name it Davis or Ward, and have all the graphics exclamation marks all over it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Let's go on to your team.
So my team at the moment, I've got Mendy in goal. I've got this team at the moment. It may not look exactly like this, but Mendy home to Fulham. I'm playing the same as you, Shaw and Trent. I've got Dallas away to Brighton, and I have got Rudiger at home to Fulham. I think that Rudiger gets rested this weekend, personally. Then I've got Son, Lingard, Salah, and Bruno, Vardy, and Iheanacho at front. At the moment, I've got, after saying all that against Jota, he's currently first on my bench. However, I think he will either come on for Rudiger. I may even start him potentially ahead of Shaw or Trent. I'm not sure yet. I need to give it a bit more thought. I've then got Forster on the bench, Cody on the bench, and Keenan Davis he's going to be absolutely fuming with me being third on the bench. But in terms of my moves this week, so that came to Vardy last week, as I said, it was a 1 week move in terms of definitely getting back Kane for a hit. I knew that last week, and I'm comfortable with that. It didn't work out, but I'm happy with the process. So he'll be coming. We've just talked, for the last hour or whatever, on kind of who to let go. I'm quite surprised that a lot of people are letting Bruno go. A lot of people are letting Jota go as well. I just think they're two good players to keep blanking all this time, and and their fixtures as well are pretty decent. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm keeping both of them. Again, looking at ownership.
I agree with you. I think Son's the one to go because
Son, yeah.
He frees up the money then to do other things with your team. I don't think Jota's really going to free up too much, is he? But if you went Son to Rafinha, all of a sudden you can make another quite exciting move.
Agree. So my transfer this week, so I'll be taking a hit this week. Obviously, I'm taking a hit. It didn't work out in terms of Vardy. I've got a green arrow, so I don't mind. I'll be doing Vardy to Kane, but I need to find, I think it's 0.2. So Cody, I think my selling price for Cody is 4.9. So I need to find a defender at 4.7 or less. So if anyone has got any shouts actually in the chat, give me a shout on who you think the best defender for the running will be for 4.7 or under. And I'm pretty set on that because again, I think I've got all the danger players I want. So I've got Trent, I've got Salah, I've got Bruno, Iheanacho.
I think Soufal's the one to go for.
How much is Soufal?
If he's 4.7, he's the one to go for. He might have crept up to 4.8, but he's attacking threat at the moment.
I agree with that, yeah.
He's the one that I would go for. Then you've got a brilliant defence for the run-in. I think don't think you'd need to touch it.
Guy is just, but Soufal in as well. Gavino says Holding. Aman says Ward, Fergie, Ward. I struggle to get excited for Joel Ward, I've got to be honest.
That's your team name next year, Davis and Ward.
Davis and Ward. Keenan and Cal. I love that. I love that stuff. From when we did the wild card episode 31, and we somehow ended up with Keenan Davis and Kelechi Iheanacho, which seemed absolute madness at the time. But look what's happened. They are absolute, legends of the game. Will Beal says go into Cody to Holgate and myself. Karma Baby says Lorente is just 4.4. It's not a bad job, but I have got Dallas already. I probably wouldn't want a double up on Leeds, in all honesty. Marker says Cahill is the best centre-back for the next game as well. So thank you for all those options, but that is what I'll be doing. It's a shame it's for a hit, but Adam, it means that you're going to be 4 points closer to me as well. So you edge.
I don't know. I think your team will be in better position. Not that there was much difference, but I like the Dallas. I like that you got Dallas in there.
Yeah, I kept him on the wild card purely for the last 3 games more than anything, But he has got Brighton. I'll probably bench him against Spurs, I would guess, but then Burnley, Southampton, and West Brom. So I'd like to end with Dallas and Rafinha. I think maybe Bamford as well. We'll see kind of where that goes. But they're my moves at the moment. Okay, so next we move on to captaincy. Who is the best captain for game week 34? And in this first image, we have 4 absolute legends of the game. We have Keenan Davis.
Or Joel Ward.
Joel Ward. Brilliant. Absolutely superb. Well, we'll knock that off, but that is going on my bedroom wall. That is. It might even go on the ceiling. I'll see about that. But anyway, on to the real Game Week 34 captaincy. Who is the best captain for Game Week 34? And we put a poll out earlier on Fantasy Football Hub. Harry Kane, 72% of the vote for Harry Kane. Iheanacho was 16.9%. Son at just 9%, and Bruno at just 3%. So Harry Kane, 72%, Adam. What do you think is effective ownership is going to be for Game Week 34?
I don't think it won't be the level that it was for Game Week 32 for the double. I don't think it will clear 200%.
No.
But it won't because obviously the triple captains aren't available. I think you're probably looking at 140%. Because people have sold him, haven't they? So I don't think everyone will get him back.
I think he'd be a bit more. I think he'd be a bit higher, maybe, 155 or 160. But I honestly think he's the best captain. Have you got any thoughts, any strong thoughts? Because you did mention earlier that you maybe were thinking of potentially even going without Kane. Have you knocked some sense into yourself, or are you still giving?
No, it depends on the press conference, or it depends on tomorrow's team news. If Kane is fully fit, he'll be in my team. Or if I don't have any doubts about him, I think Iniacho is a really good option for captaincy. Watching him Monday night, he's the form striker in the arguably the world at the moment.
Yeah.
So his goal was exceptional, and he has got that similar ability to Kane to take shots early.
Yeah.
He's done it a few times. It wasn't just that goal. I think one of his goals against Sheffield United. He doesn't actually. A lot of his goals aren't. He's not necessarily getting loads of big chances, but he's having a high volume of shots in and around the area. So I think he is a good option, and I wouldn't be surprised if he outscored Kane. But Sheffield United are terrible. I don't think we can say much more than that. And I think if Kane, I actually, what I would say is, if it was any other fixture, I wouldn't necessarily bring Kane back in this week. I would give Vardy another game, but you just can't against Sheffield United. They're just so bad. It's a fairly, if you, yeah, I think it's a pretty obvious captaincy this week. Although Iniacho, I think, is the one that could compete with him.
Yeah, I think my only advice to people, who are looking to steal a march, looking to claw back some points, I just don't think this week is the week for that in terms of captaincy. I would just play it sensible this week. There's plenty of opportunities. Like I say, we're going to have doubles potentially in 35. We're going to have games in 36 without Chelsea, Arsenal, United, and Leicester players potentially. 38 is always a lottery as well. So I think there's still plenty more game weeks to take your risks. But yeah, we will see. Say we can't see Adam anymore. I'm not. You're showing up on my screen. Hopefully that's all right.
I think I've frozen.
All right, it looks okay on my screen. Hopefully, hope it's okay. In terms of our predicted points to all, it shows Kane at the top, 6.9 points this game week. Then we have Son at 6.2, Vardy at 5.1, De Bruyne at 5 away to Palace, and Gareth Bale is actually fifth on 4.6. So that is what our predicted best game week 34 captain says there. Now then, competition time, and what we'll do this week, we'll do something a bit different this week. We'll try and do something a little bit interesting. So every week, all our YouTube watchers have a chance to win a Fantasy Football Hub mug. They are fantastic quality. We're selling these two along with other Hub merchandise in association with at FPL merch. There is a link in the description below, and we're currently running 20% off discount using coupon code FFHub20. In game week 32, the results, Billy Wotton picked Greenwood, who had a joint 15-pointer. So many congratulations to Billy. You have won a mug. From game week 33, it was Chris Wood with 20 points. I can't see at the moment if anyone has won. So if anyone has won, please let me know. Drop me a DM if you think you've won with Chris Wood. What we'll do this week, let's try and guess Kane's effective ownership in the top 10k.
I like that. Okay.
That'll be a decent one this week. So just put in a number. It'll be the top 10k effective ownership for Harry Kane for game week 34. And whoever gets closest will get him a Guy Parfit. Look, he's had his mug. It arrived today. Lovely bit of merch. Great stuff there, Guy. John Chappell says, I just finished work. How long is the stream in? We nearly finished. It's 10 past 11. So yeah, Kane's effective ownership, put a high percentage in the chat. You get it be over 100 and less than 200. So anything in there. And finally then, we're just going to have a quick look at the top of our at FFH_Green Arrow mini league. Finally, Adam, sorry if I forgot to say, what is your guess for the effective ownership?
I will go for, I'll go 100 and 62.
Oh, do you know what number was in my head?
160.
161 was in my head. But I will go for 158.
In fact, looking at the numbers on there, I've seen a 163, a 164.
Yeah, it's very, very tight.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So, in our mini league, in 10th place is Craig S. 9th place, Harry Jones. 8th is Russell Baker. 7th, Daniel Haynes. 6th, Douglas Wong. 5th, Abdul Hassan. 4th, Victor Sandberg. 3rd, Tammy Donahoe. 2nd, Luka Bubnic. 1st, Vigard Knutson retains it. 2283. Had a game week of 61 and is sat at 63rd overall. Super Tiger is sipping tea from his mug as we speak. Fantastic stuff there. So that is it for our mini league. I'm just going to post our mini league code in the chat now. So if you don't have it, please join our mini league. There it is in there. Or there is an auto join link in the description below. So that is it from us this week. Quite a shortish one this week, Adam. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about because, simply speaking, we don't know what's going to happen next week, game week 35. A lot of this has been kind of guesswork, haven't it, based on on Ben Krellin's estimations. But as promised, we do have a final quick word from Keenan Davis. I don't know why he sent me this. I think he must have been on the booze, but we're just going to play it really, really quickly before we wrap up. See what you think of this, everybody. Thank you so much for that, Keenan. I've no idea why he sent me that. I think he just wanted to show off his voice. Thank you so much, everybody, all our loyal watchers and listeners, for their great questions and comments, as usual. Short one this evening, as I say, but we really do appreciate it. As promised, we've just had the quick word from Keenan Davis. Adam, the very, very best of luck to you for game week 34. Where can people get hold of you? Where can people get hold of you?
On Twitter, Hopcroft13.
Superb. I've lost my train of thought again. My Twitter handle is at FFH_Fergie. If you are listening on a podcast version, probably for a laugh, you need to watch it on YouTube. YouTube is where it's at. We have all the graphics. We have all the weird stuff on there. Yeah, please watch it on YouTube if you get the chance as well. We have lots of fun live in the chat with our fantastic loyal watchers who turn up every single week. Absolutely love it. So this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you liked what you watched, please press the like button and remember to subscribe to the bottom right hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast, leave a comment. I know I ask this every week, but if you do listen on a podcast version, if you can leave us a 5-star rating and leave a positive comment, it really, really does help us. It's more than you could ever do. So if you do that for us, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Also, please drop a like on the stream. All these things, we do ask for them, but they really, really do help. It would be much appreciated. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok are at FFH_HQ. And our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Green Arrow. So make sure you drop us a follow. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you'll find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, points prediction tools, and much, much more. To join the tens of thousands of other fantasy managers, sign up to Fantasy Football Hub to use all our amazing resources and to support us. Just click the top link description below. You will not regret it, I promise you, especially if you play other fantasy games as well. We've got it absolutely all covered here on the Hub. Thank you so much for all the comments in the chat. We'll see if we can get Keenan Davis back later in the season to sing us another song. We'll see. We will be back next week, looking ahead to a potential double game week 35. If we get the news, we will be back full throttle next week. Stay safe and may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.